Right, we got a minute left. If you feel like you're done, challenge yourself to get something else.
You um,
20 seconds. All right, time. Let's see who. Let's share some of these out. What do we come up with? You don't have to share all of yours, but what's one or two ideas that you came up with? The big twirling sign. Okay.
Since me and Aunt Teresa moved here to Atlanta, we actually have a lot of extended family here. So we've been inviting cousins and what have you. So lots of cousins.
Lots of cousins. Go to the family, right? Go to folks, our families. Come on out. So we got so far. We're gonna get out and do the twirling sign. Now here's a question, Doug. Are you gonna dance? If that was you, would you be out there dancing with the sign? You you just twirl the sign. Okay, okay. We got to check. All right. What else? Knock on doors. All right. Making a video and post it on social media. All right. So we got a number of options: in person, digital, person to person, family. Knock on doors. Anything else anybody had that hasn't been shared so far?
I said, Burma shave signs is what I was saying up and down the road here. It's a bunch of small signs every 100 feet, 200 feet, and the cars drive by and they read one or two words, and eventually they get a whole poem or a punch or a invitation of some sort.
Okay, signs with a message. So a couple words on each, and you gotta keep reading in order to get the message. All right. I didn't know that's what they were called. I've seen some before. Shay, well they are okay. Got it. Got it. Okay. So a lot of ideas. Do we have any in the chat there?
Chat. There's nothing to lift, as Pastor Vince likes to mock me at this time from the chat.
Uh,
One of the things that I did say on my little list is to connect with local businesses slash neighborhoods near the church. So kind of lifting from what Sam said, but just to go to some businesses as well there near the church.
I noticed the church has a lot of different activities going on, like for people over 50, you have basketball, you have things like that. People kind of clump in groups, so if they like sports, maybe invite them to the men's basketball thing, so that they start to see we're normal, we're nice. They'll hear more, then they'll come to the service. Things like that. Things you're already doing, just spread it out amongst other people you know that are interested in things like that. If you're talking about communities, start to pull them in that way.
There we go. Okay, so some others we heard businesses going to reaching out to businesses, targeted the events that are going on at the church, um, matching that up with folks' interests, inviting them to those things. So it's not say just service, but you got a variety of things going on. Invite people to those. Excellent.
Partnering with the schools, like the high schools in particular, or any of the schools to get their families, doing something. Well, you do that already, but yeah, just partnering more with the schools to get children and then the family come also.
Yeah, yeah. So schools where kids are, you got a big group of people right there, right? And so touching and partnering with schools, getting young folks and their families in the building. So we appreciate that. And you know, the scenario was another church. I like how we thought about local, like what this would look like if this was us. So let's go to the I'm sorry, we did have something there. Yeah.
Julius. So
Yep.
Miko, this was taking her time. She turned out a whole little marketing plan. She said we could run geo-targeted digital ads through Google, Facebook, and Instagram within a 3 to 5 mile radius of the church. That way, when someone nearby searches churches near me or scrolls their feed on a Sunday morning, they see us. It's low cost, highly measurable, and meets people exactly where they already are on their phones. So Miko's already come up with our marketing plan for the next 3 to 5 years. Thank you.
We got the full plan in there, geo-targeted digital ads, Google, Facebook, Instagram, close to the church, right? So it's kind of this, we got the physical knocking on the doors, we kind of got the digital knocking on doors as well, right? So that's covered there, absolutely. And then I see it here, yeah, value add classes at the church. So things it sounds like what are the things that will add value for folks and offer those classes at the church. So a lot of great things that we're generating here. Let's go. So in our scenario, let's say, you know, we share these ideas with this church and they implemented it and they just did a fantastic job. It just worked like wonders. So we can go to the next slide. So in this situation, there's been another church that has heard about the great work that we've done as a consulting team, and they need help. This church is in danger of closing their doors forever. They're a small church, but they've been deeply invested in sharing the truth about Jesus and sincerely and truly helping people in the community. Without this church, it'll be a great loss in this particular community. In order to stay open, they need 800 new visitors to their church by next Sunday. Yeah. Next round. So same idea. We're going to take 2 minutes to come up with as many ideas you can on how they can meet their goal. All right. So different church. Our timeline is next Sunday, and they need 800 new visitors to their church by next Sunday. All right. 2 minutes. Go. One more minute.
I have a question.
Go for it.
I know it says they need 800 new visitors to the church by next Sunday, but what's going to happen if those visitors don't come back? Aren't they going
Great.
to be in the same predicament?
Yeah, great question. They've asked to just focus. They just need them there by next Sunday. We just need people in the building. Now after that, that's extra. That's an extra charge. So we just focus on this one. All right. What did we come up with? What what did we come up with? Let's hear it. So go ahead.
A call-a-thon. I just thought about the episode from A Different World where they did the call-a-thon for the rec center. That's why I was chuckling to myself.
Call a thon. Call we hey, we call it. We got to get folks in here. Absolutely. Okay. What else?
Tell them it can't be done. Tell them to pray.
All right. So Sam went a different. He said, "Hey, this not gonna work, but pray about it." That's what we should start for sure anyway. But okay, we got some skepticism on if this can happen. Okay, a lot of skepticism. Okay.
So the line says they're invested in helping people in the community.
Uh huh.
Do people not have a ride to get to this church? Find out why people can't come if this is a small. Like, what's the deal? What is the barrier to make people not come if they're already in the community doing stuff and people aren't physically coming? What's the reason? Do you need bus rides to pick people up?
Yeah. So let's play that out a little bit. Let's say let's say it is a transportation issue. What would you offer?
Offer to pick up 2 or 3 people in my area that, or in their area, I guess, and take them to church, go visit the church that Sunday, and give them a ride home.
So go a little deeper, finding out what is the barrier. Yeah, ride-a-thon. Yeah, what's the challenge? If it's transportation, let's pick folks up and let's get them there. All right. What else?
I said go to other small churches and invite them to all come with the in view of a merger and see if that would get the whole congregation to show up at the same time.
So go to other churches invite them to that Sunday service. Get all of them in the building that day. Talk about potential merger, but at least hey, invite them out. Let's connect with other churches. Okay.
Mike came my way. So a couple things that seem realistic include visiting all the schools, not giving away money, advertising at a football game, getting on the news. Ginger asked, "How do you get on the news?" It's like, kidnap the mayor. I put that on my list.
We're not co-signing that one. Yeah. Yeah. No kidnapping. Right. Fair. So getting on the news, um, pitching this, yes, inviting folks. There we go. All right. Any others that folks want to share?
First thing I said was that everybody who's a member of the church needs to fast and pray for the week leading up to Sunday because this is a huge thing. But also, I thought about maybe if they could get the local businesses to say, "Hey, if you come to church, we'll donate this for a raffle." So that way, it's like a business expo slash church service. So you're offering an incentive and also invigorating the community because the business owners will want to come as well to see who's going to win. So kind of like an auction type situation as well.
Yes, and that's want to point that out too because it's something in that example, right? On the first instance, Andy, you said you spoke about going to businesses. Now you kind of tapping this. You didn't go away from that, but what? How could we use this kind of same lane and do some more? So now we got an expo going on. We got some other things going on. Absolutely, great ideas. What else? Anything else? Here in the chat, Tamiko says, I pitch a single massive shareable community event for this Sunday. Partner with local food trucks, a well-known gospel artist or speaker willing to donate their time, and every other small church, school, and nonprofit in the 10-mile radius to co-promote. Make it a one Sunday community celebration. Flood social media, local news, and radio with the story of a church fighting to keep its doors open to serve the community. People show up for stories, not just sermons. And a church on the brink trying to save itself is your story. And so we got the full kind of package there, and we hear parts of that, and a number of the ideas, right? The promotion, that was a kind of piece that call-a-thon from a different world, the story, right, about the rec center. We got tapping in. So we got a lot that's happening in there, for sure. That could help to bring people out. How did this one feel versus the first one? So this scenario versus the first scenario. Remember, we needed 100 new visitors to a church by the end of the year. This one we needed 800 by next Sunday. How did this feel? Kind of thinking about the first one versus the second one.
This second one was very stressful. I was stressed and it's not even real.
Stressed and it's not even real. We felt some pressure.
Because you're saying by next Sunday, specifically 800 new members. So have like this and do that to get people. This feels like a gimmick. That was my first.
Feels like okay. Feels like a gimmick. It feels like we're kind of maybe forcing some things based on the number and the timeline. That's kind of what it feels like? Yeah. Yeah. The why. Yeah. No, no. But what's deeper in that and your other questions, right? Um, what you're thinking, like, what's behind it? What's more? Where's we go deeper? What's the reason? Yeah. Yeah. Now, part of this would just kind of illustrate a point, so it's a little, yeah. But to your point, right, like thinking about some questions and things behind it. In the chat, first one felt organic, second one felt gimmicky. So we hear that one again. All right.
Because the first one, well, in this one, it says that this church heard about what the outlet did. So maybe they are like desperate and they've tried everything and they wanted to see if this church could help.
You know, I kind of like the second one. I think sometimes desperation brings out the best ideas. Sometimes, if you know that you're back up against the wall and you don't have a way, and I need to get it, I need to get out the mud, I need to get it however I can get it. Sometimes the best ideas come from that sense of desperation. Now, I'm not saying, no one want to put a gun in anybody's head, but I do think that sometimes we can kind of be a little lax about how we engage and interact with certain things. So I feel like if we feel like or we operate in a way that is with a sense of urgency about things, right? Then we kind of accelerate our vision and accelerate our creative ideas. And so the second one for me compared to the first one, I feel like sometimes you can get that pressure pulls out of you, right? A little bit more. So I kind of like the second one personally. Maybe that's because I wait to deadlines to turn stuff into. So that could be a personality flaw too.
Or a gift, or a gift, right? That's okay. I'm in that boat too. So a couple things. One, these are for illustrative purposes only. Right. The second one, and it was great to see folks' faces once it kind of set in, like what this is asking for, and then the kind of the shock, like, oh my goodness, this is major and this is heavy, right? Um, and so we wanted to think about, though. I did want to put a little pressure on this, right? The first one is comfortable, right? 100 by the end of the year. Okay. The second one starts to put a little pressure, but in that, as we talk about innovation a little bit more, we'll see how some of that comes up. No, the deadlines won't be like this all the time. No, that's not going to be it. But we want to push to begin to think about it, right? Think about where your numbers were earlier today on creativity and innovation. For some of us, they were low in some areas, but pushed in a certain situation, kind of definitely to Andy's point here, when we push, we started coming up with some ideas and started coming up with some things that could possibly happen, right? So we can go to the next slide. Innovation. The author Craig Rochelle uses the Wikipedia definition of innovation. He says the process of making improvements by introducing something new. Okay, the process of making improvements by introducing something new. The way I like to think of it is it's a new way to do things. What we'll notice from this definition are a couple things. One is that it's pretty general. This could apply to a number of things. It could apply to systems. It could apply to processes. Sometimes when we think about innovation, the first thing or the major thing is technology. Well, it doesn't necessarily have to include that. So for us, it's thinking about this is making improvements by introducing something new. down at the bottom where we see, and the author gives us this formula to think about exponential innovation. Number one, a problem to solve. All right, there's got to be there's a problem to solve. Number two, limited resources, and then number three, increasing passion. All right, so when those things are put together, you have the potential there for exponential innovation. So let's think about that scenario, especially the second one. So the problem to solve, and anybody can call us out. What was the problem that we were trying to solve? Get visitors. Get 800 visitors by next Sunday, right? It's very, we had a problem to solve. What resources were limited in this case? All of them. Information about the why, time, not many, it's a small church, so thinking about people in order to kind of help with this effort, the amount of time, absolutely. Money, okay? So we got some limits around our resources that we had to work with, okay? And then the last thing is increasing passion. And I think kind of what illustrates this best was Tamika when she said going through that it felt stressful. We don't feel stress like that. We're starting to care, right? So you're thinking about I would guess that most folks can start thinking about, oh, this church potentially closing, right? This church has been doing good work. So we didn't want to just let them fall by the wayside. We at least wanted to take time to think about, okay, how might we be able to, what kind of ideas could we generate? Those put together provide an opportunity for exponential innovation. Think about the ideas that we came up with. And also to point out in 2 minutes, right? It wasn't a day. In 2 minutes, there were ideas that came about of things that could happen that they could try and do, right? So that's something I wanted to point out there. We can go to the next slide. All right, creativity and innovation. So these two, for our purposes, are very, very similar. Okay, we asked about these up front. They're very similar. A lot of what we're talking about is going to apply to both creativity and innovation. And in some aspects, they're going to be, you could think of them being interchangeable. Um, However, the author points out a distinction between the two that we got to sit with for a little bit and think about. And we heard it earlier. Creativity is thinking up new ideas. People with new ideas are not necessarily innovators. People who do new ideas are innovators. Leaders with it do more than just think of new ideas, they actually do the new ideas. Why might this distinction be important? What's the key? What are keys here? Why might that be important? Idea by itself doesn't do anything. Any other thoughts?
Creativity, new ideas that are not shared, do not give anybody anything to work with.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So those ideas, they don't do anything. They don't give others the opportunity to do anything with them. They don't give they don't give the opportunity for someone to receive the benefit of those new ideas. Right. So that's the distinction. Again, a lot of this will be similar form, but we want to think about that. As folks that want to be leaders with it, as the author talks about, want to challenge ourselves not just to think of new ideas, but to actually do the new ideas. Right? I don't know if anybody's ever had this experience where you've thought of a product or you've had some idea or some kind of service, and then years later or some other time you see somebody else has that, and you say that was my idea. Anybody ever show of hands? Is that anybody? So right, we had the idea, it was there, but somebody else also had it and they executed on it, right? So that's just something to think about and for us to continue to push ourselves on. And I see a yes in the chat. All right. We can go to the next slide. So of course, we must center this in the Bible, right? So a couple of examples that we want to go through, just as we continue to think about innovation more holistically. So, can we get a volunteer to read for us Genesis chapter 1, verses 1 through 3? Uh, yes, out loud. Yes.
When God began to create the heavens and the earth was complete chaos, and darkness covered the face of the deep, while a wind from God swept over the face of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light.
God is the ultimate creator, the ultimate innovator, right? Started off. This is Genesis 1. This is where the Bible begins. When God began to create the heavens and the earth. Um, and then we through this verse through 1 through 3, he created light. What else? What else? As we keep going in the next couple verses, what else? Just throw them out there. What else was created? Heavens and earth. What else? Land and sea,
Animals.
animals, birds, sun, plants, stars, dry land, us. Come on. So from the beginning and out of chaos, all right, out of chaos, there was darkness. And excuse my typos in this, but chaos and darkness were what existed. And through that, our ultimate creator, the God that we serve, created everything that was then and was to come. So for us, this idea around creativity and innovation isn't something foreign to our experience um, as believers and followers of God and Jesus Christ. Then we go to Genesis 1 and 27. So God created humans in his image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female, he created them. So for us, this is a reminder that if God is a creator and we're created in his image, then we're creators and innovators as well. I really wanted to point this out because I think sometimes we think about creativity and innovation looking a certain way. Some people either you have it or you don't. Or some people are just these amazing creators and innovators that start these businesses or do works of art or just all kind of things. But it's something that he put in each and every one of us. And so if we go back to that definition, a new way of doing things, then innovation and creativity can happen in all of the areas of which we exist in. Again, it could be a new process, a new system, a new way based on the field that you're in or things that you know about. So for us, I think this is evidence for us as believers as with God as an innovator and creator, and it's a reminder and encouragement that we have that in us as well. We can go to the next slide. This next one, can we have someone? Is anybody on? Let's try online. Online, come on, help us out. Luke 5:18 through 19.
Luke 5:18 through 19 says, just then some men came carrying a paralyzed man on a stretcher. They were trying to bring him in and lay him before Jesus, but finding no way to bring him in because of the crowd, they went up on the roof and let him down on the stretcher through the tiles into the middle of the crowd in front of Jesus.
Being carrying paralyzed man on a stretcher. They needed to, they had to. The pressure was on. They must get him in front of Jesus. Going through the door was not going to work. They said, "Hey, we going to go through the roof." Innovation, right? So this is a story, of course, about faith and what they believed about who Jesus was. And then for us, this is also an example for us to think about, and our faith being in Jesus, right? What are the ways in which, as it relates to that, that we can be innovative and creative as well? Right now, we're in a series, whether it's helping people, recently we've been talking more and more about the Great Commission. Um, so, what are ways that we can be creative and innovative if need be in order to help people to share the word, to share the gospel, to help make inform folks that are followers of Jesus Christ as well. So, I love this example. This was, and we talk about time, limited resources. They had to get in front of them pretty quick, right? It was, they don't know how long Jesus was going to be there, so they had to go ahead and make a move. They had to make a decision and decide. Just thinking about it, just coming up with ideas was not going to work. They had to make something happen. For us, this is something to think about. If anybody wants to share it, the question here: when have you been forced to find another way forward because an unexpected obstacle blocked your usual path?
Did you want us to give an example?
Yes, if you have one, for sure.
I think it's just general. I think in work, I have to do it all the time. I see somebody else put it in the chat as well. All the time. For instance, there might be someone who's saying they're going to deliver on a particular product or show up in a certain way. And if that person does not show up in the way that they said that they would, the show must go on, so to speak. I still have to get my portion done. So then I have to find another way to do it. Again, I know this is very broad because it happens so much. It's hard for me to just come up with a specific way right now. But I know that that happens consistently. One person will say that they will do their part and they will do a certain thing. If they don't get it done, I still have to figure out a way to get it done.
Yeah, thank you for that. And that's, the generalness of it is fine, and we see that in the chat as well all the time. So, even regular occurrences for us, things like that happen, we sometimes we don't think about all we're doing, right? The ways and times in which we have to adjust, the ways we have to make it, go a different route, the way we gotta have to figure something out. And so when we think about innovative mindset, that's what goes into it as well. So this willingness to adjust, this willingness to find new ways, this willingness to try something different. Hey, this person did not do what they needed to do. I'm gonna have to, figure it out. I only have a limited amount of time, and now I got to do their work as well. But you figure something out. So that's also encouraged. I like that term, solutionists. We are solutionists, absolutely, right? Solutions, solving problems. So it goes back to us having that innovative mindset and think about how we ranked ourselves, what number we gave ourselves. There's parts of this that you're probably doing on a regular basis that you're not even thinking about giving yourself credit for. All right, so that's one piece. As you go throughout the week, what are ways in which you're kind of adjusting or making changes, or going around unexpected obstacles, finding solutions, and that kind of mindset. Um, tie that into how you can continue to be and expand on that to be innovative or creative. We can go to the next slide. Rule breakers are innovators. A lot of times, the times that folks are living in, these are folks that are considered troublemakers, rule breakers. And before we go too deep, let me say I'm not encouraging anybody to break any laws. We heard about kidnapping someone earlier. I'm not encouraging anyone to do that. All right. So that's you. You got to deal with that as for yourself and think about that. But rule breakers are innovators. In the time, a lot of times that they're existing or living in or operating in or trying to start as those, they're considered rule breakers and troublemakers. Over time, they're seen as innovators. Think about Jesus. Jesus, what were all the rules that were in place during the time he came in? And where did Jesus get in trouble? Healing on the Sabbath, right? We're not. Oh no, he's not. He's out there healing on the Sabbath. Rule breaker, right? Who is he talking to? Why is he sitting down with dinner at dinner with these folks? Why is he having conversations with the woman at the well, with women in general? Come on. Jesus was an innovator. That example for us, right? Those were the things that needed to happen and needed to be done. For us, we also continue to see as we think about others that are in this faith. John Wesley, during this time, it was considered ridiculous pretty much to preach outside of a church building. He was kicked out of church, preached outdoors, and inventing the open air meetings and opening doors for many others like Billy Graham. And through that time, there were a number of people that came and found Jesus because of these types of meetings. Martin Luther was told God's word was too complex for the common man. He said, okay, and then translated the Bible to German and put it in the hands of the everyday person. So again, these are examples that the author shared in the book of some folks who consider rule breakers during their time, but are actually innovators. Like I see in the chat, college models, I'll find a way or make one. We know that God is the ultimate way maker. Absolutely. And that's a benefit for us as believers, right? We believe in a God who is the ultimate creator and the ultimate way maker, right? So, we know there's a way for us. Next slide.
Can I something really quick?
Absolutely.
So this made me think about a book that I read by Adam Grant, who's a world-renowned organizational psychologist, who has a lot of great content. And he wrote a book called Originals: How Nonconformists Change the World. And it really just delves into what we're talking about. Like, in order to truly drive systemic, sustainable change, you really truly have to be a nonconformist. Like, originality actually supersedes and wins in the ultimate end of the day. So it made me think about even Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. when he was not celebrated like we celebrate him today. There was a fight to get him to have a national holiday. And so when we look at these people now, right, but during the time that they were doing this trailblazing work, they weren't well respected and loved like they are now. So to your point, it just reinforces that has to be, innovation and creativity and those different things really is what pushes, community forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Start people that are willing to step out and stand out despite the challenges, right? Um, but to keep going. So absolutely. We can go, yeah, we can go to the next slide. And I won't go through all of these. We've talked about some of them, but it's a couple that want to highlight just as kind of notes for us to think about and have in mind. We talked about the first one, doing more than just think of new ideas, actually doing the new ideas. Innovation is more about mindset than money. When we think about limited resources, that's one of the first ones a lot of times that come to us. I don't have money. I don't have it. Innovation is about a mindset. It's an approach. This next one, God often guides by what he doesn't provide. So this was from the author, and essentially similar to that point, saying, sometimes we have those limited resources, certain things that we don't have or feel like we don't have, but it's actually a direction God is pushing us into. Problems are opportunities in disguise. A lot of times when we think about when problems come about, we focus and we're stuck within the problem. And um, for us, getting in and keeping in that mindset, we want to think about problems as opportunities in disguise. This next one, to avoid innovation overload. This is more from kind of personal experience. Sometimes, this term innovation and think outside the box and it's just kind of thrown out there, and we started just kind of do things just to say that we're being innovative or creative, and just kind of for innovation's sake. And a lot of stuff begins to happen that may not even be necessary at the time. So what I say, to avoid that kind of innovation overload, connected to your vision and focus. So these were earlier chapters in the book, and I think this is right on time for this chapter to come after we talked about vision and focus, because that helps to kind of give yourself a check and saying, okay, is this connected? Does this push us on our vision? Does this help us with our focus? If not, maybe we look at and think about doing this at a different time or maybe this just isn't it right now. So that helps us to give us a little check for ourselves or when we're leading and working with groups as well. We can go to the next slide. As believers, this one is huge. This one is huge. You have everything you need to do what God wants you to do. At times, it will feel like we don't have it. We don't have enough. We don't have enough of this. Oh, if I just had that, then I'd be able to. You have everything you need to do what God wants you to do. Centering that for ourselves really can help us push to find solutions and push us to be creative and innovative. Keeping that in mind and having that faith and belief that we have everything we need for what God wants us to do. In the author shares this one: innovative leaders do anything short of sin to reach the lost. So that was something that he shared that they talk about a good bit on their team. And this kind of goes back to that second exercise we did. At times things may feel gimmicky, they may feel weird, but what's the point? What are we trying to get to? And for them, they were really focusing on saying we're trying to reach the lost. So we're willing to do anything short of sin to reach the lost. Kidnapping, you got to make your own decisions around that. All it takes is one idea to solve an impossible problem. It's only impossible until it happens. Right? Think about through time, what things probably were impossible then and seemingly impossible. People flying, people in planes, impossible maybe at a certain point in time, but not today. So just keeping that in mind, sometimes it's only that one idea that will take us where we need to go. Innovation is not just about technology. We talked about that one. And then innovation is great. It's awesome. But don't put your faith in it. Always keep your faith in Jesus Christ. All right. Any of those that stand out, those kind of notes that stand out, resonate, or that anybody has a question about with any of those? So again, anything that you have a question about, anything that you want to, or is pushing your thinking, or something that you kind of sitting with that you want to hold on to? Anything that came up?
One is if you don't have your true focus, you're just doing a whole bunch of stuff. You're just doing too much.
If you're not focused on Jesus Christ, you're doing too much. You're just doing a whole bunch of stuff. Whole bunch of nothing. Centering that, keeping that right in front of us. Absolutely.
First bullet, I feel like is a gut check to me right now. I'm thinking two things. It's crazy. I've been thinking about since we've been talking, Julius, and this is such a great message. I've been thinking about Uber and I'm thinking about David and Goliath. I know you're like, what's the connection?
Come on, make it for us. Come on.
But Uber, I'm thinking about because when you think about Uber, right? They didn't create anything new. Everything already existed that they created. We had taxis for how long? And we've used our phones. We had cell phones. But what they were able to do with what already existed was transform transportation like forever, right? So I think about that. I also think about David and Goliath as well, right? Maybe because I'm behind a little bit on my Bible reading plan. Don't tell the pastors, but I just got done reading the David and Goliath story, and he came with the slingshot and the pep rock. He didn't need any of the fancy trappings or anything like that. He came with the unbelievable and unshakable faith that he had in God, right? And his ability and willingness to stand up for the God that he served. That all he took was what he was familiar with and was able to defeat the giant. So for me, what this means is that, when we come to God with what's not enough, he's going to make it enough. And at the end of the day, that's all we need. So from that first bullet to that second bullet, I feel like the Lord is saying, Andy, personally, right? Come to me with what you think is not enough, and I will transform it to make it enough. And so that's really what's been hitting on for me today.
Come on, two huge ones, right? Where we think was not enough, but and you make that point, bring it to God. He's gonna make it enough, but also having that conversation. How are we feeling? What do we do? What's going on with it? Having that conversation, absolutely. And then that first one, sometimes exactly the innovation, right? Sometimes is taking things that seem distant or separate or whatever and putting it together in a new way, which is what happened there with Uber. So, great points. In the chat, you have everything you need to do what God wants you to do. That's a great reminder. That was Sade. Pastor Vince, love the discussion tonight. I believe we as a church are on the precipice of living in our potential. Absolutely. Let's go. We're gonna keep it well. I know with time. I'm trying to fit a good bit in. So let's go. We can go to the next one, and we'll come back if we got a moment. Go to the next slide.
Ask.
All right. So some tips for you to help innovate. These are not all encompassing. These are not. This doesn't give you everything, but this is not the one way to do it. But these are just some tips for you to think about. Number one, we said this, but reframing the problem as an opportunity. Think about language. Do we think about I got to do something or I get to do something, right? The problem as an opportunity. What might you learn? What might you get to do by solving this problem? How can you grow? What's potentially on the other side of it? Go back to our example. Either one, new visitors in a church. It felt pressure, but it's also wow. On the other side of that, anybody else that steps in that building is getting to hear more about the Word of God. So where's the opportunity in this? Where opportunity to not just see it as a problem. Number two, consider all the resources at your disposal. So sometimes they can help us just take stock. What do you do have? We said this earlier. A lot of times we go to what we don't have, but what do you have? All right. May feel like I don't have enough money. Okay, but do you have or know somebody else that may donate to whatever it is that you need? You need you can't hire certain people, but can you get some friends to do a favor to help you out with something? So what are all the resources that are at your disposal? And being creative even in thinking about that. This third one we did, brainstorm ideas. Don't discard any ideas at this point. Our tendency sometimes is to start to evaluate these are good or bad ideas. Or, oh, that's just crazy. Or that's ridiculous. That's impossible. This is never going to work. We don't know. So don't throw anything out in those brainstorms, because also what may seem like a bad idea may actually lead to a good idea or the actual idea that you want to implement. So brainstorm, and don't throw anything out. And then the next one is start with one step of implementation. All right. Sometimes it may feel it may feel big, it may feel large to us, and it can feel overwhelming. Start one step. Can you start? And after you start, can you take one more? All right, now you've taken that. Can you do another one? Okay. Um, and also, and I'll just kind of add this, just be mindful. Don't sometimes we also start when we started, we think that certain things should happen by a certain point in time. Not necessarily. Progress. Are you making progress? Right. So those are some things, some tips to help for us to think about there. Any questions or thoughts about any of those tips?
Well, I'll just share the reframe as well as what you were saying about timing. Oftentimes we do want things to happen within the time frame we think it should happen or we want it to happen. If it doesn't happen within that time frame, we might become discouraged, frustrated, or think that it's not going to happen at all. So it's great to be reminded that, the ultimate timing is God's timing. And we just have to surrender to that. So I thank you for that. But then also reframing opportunities as reframing problems as an opportunity. I have a really good friend who's just been consistent in my life. I can talk to her about anything. And I call her the reframe queen. She has been telling me about reframing for probably over 10 years now. But it really is so true. It's perspective and how we see a thing. Because if we can see the opportunity in it, it's not as bad as sometimes we think a thing could be. So yeah, that's just really, really big, that reframe.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing those. Yeah. I mean, I'm one. I got some ideas, some things I started working on a couple years ago, and I'm frustrated at times because they weren't moving along or weren't happening. But now they're moving, and it may not move as far as I want, and then we go again. But it's just being okay with that time frame. And then that first one, like you said, reframing it, our minds, if we think if you think about it, when we just see things as problems, our minds a lot of times start to shut down, right? It's either the stress or the worry, those things start to come up. When we're reframing it, it allows us to kind of relax a little bit in our brains to actually think through things and come up with different ideas. So a lot of this about the reframing, the considering the resource is to put our brains and our bodies in more of a positive state to actually be able to think and function in a way that can come up with ideas.
And I mentioned, I guess, the one about taking the first step, doing something. One of the things to me that addresses is the feelings, the fear, the worry, all the things that hold us back from doing anything and actually getting started, even if it's a small step.
Absolutely. Getting over the fear, the worry, all those things, we can I'll share a quick story. I'm sorry, that just made me think of it. Kids going swimming, kids learning how to swim, right? It's that the water you're not used to. I don't like it for some of them, but it's like once you just kind of start going underwater, it makes everything easier. But before that, I don't want to get in, or you fighting it and everything. And I think that's kind of to your point. That's what I think of. That's kind of what happens with us. Is fear. Oh my God, what's going to happen? Or it's worry. Or I can't. And some you just got to go in the water, right? Go into once. Oh, I did that. Okay, going again. All right. Oh, now let me try this that they showed me. Okay, now I can. Right. And next thing you know, you're swimming, or the next thing you know, then you're closer to the end of what you were trying to do.
Bringing out something else and something that Robin also said. Sometimes our plans are ruined so that we are not ruined. I can think of places I wanted to be, some people I wanted to be with, and I thank God that it
Come on.
happened. We're not gonna get too much. This ain't not gonna turn to talk show Wednesday or anything like that. But I'm just saying, and also to your point, it's not our job to understand God's plan. It's just to follow it. Nowhere in the Word does it tell us understand me and then go. It says follow me, go. You know, pick up your. My burden is heavy, light. My yoke is light. Things of that nature. So it's never our job to truly now understanding comes after, right? Follows obedience, but it's never our job to understand God's plan. That's never what we're told to do. We're just told to follow and obey. So good points.
Just follow and obey. Make it simple. Yeah, we got a couple in the chat. Now, our problems are opportunities to see God's solutions. Overcoming problems builds character. Absolutely, it strengthens us. Think about what some of us, what you may have been through, and fighting and being resilient, and where that puts you builds that character. Outlet Church, the COVID shutdown saved our church, right? So what's something that was a huge um, problem and challenge, of course, we know. But our outlet is something that here's what Pastor Vince says saved our church. So just a lot of things for us to think about. We'll go. I know we're a bit over, so I appreciate y'all. So we'll go to the next slide real quick. I'm just gonna read these out for you to think about. We won't have a discussion on this, but these are questions to take with you. You can just kind of think about this for yourselves. If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you want? What would you attempt? What's been holding you back from even trying so far? So that's kind of a section there. If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you attempt? And what maybe have been holding you back? When you think about what's holding you back, it's not about shame or guilt for yourself. It's more about um, understanding the why to help us to overcome it. Okay, so I really want to contextualize that. It's not about shame or guilt or I didn't make it or I didn't do it. No, it's what maybe to better understand what will help propel us forward. Okay. Um, Next one, what off the wall idea or crazy notion has been simmering inside of you? All right, is there something new that God is calling you to do that may seem strange or uncomfortable at first, but ultimately changes lives and advances his kingdom? Are there things that you've been thinking and pondering and rejecting and turning with because it feels too off the wall or just crazy? But you really deeply feel that um, it can ultimately change lives and advance his kingdom. All right. So those are things to think about and notice and kind of go throughout the week. for things that you can think about. And then we can go to the last slide here. Just this reminder. I think this is super important for us all. God has given you everything you need to do everything He wants you to do. You got it. You got it. It's in you. It's already there. Whether it's about creativity and innovation, he put it in us when He created us, so it's there. Um, and then exponential innovation. This kind of this format here. A problem to solve, limited resources, increasing passion, leads to exponential innovation. And remember that innovation is a mindset, and something that we can all take part in. And with that, we'll take any prayer requests that we may not have covered before.
I was going to put it in the chat, but since I didn't hear anyone else, I'll just say it. My brother, Vic Gilmore, healing from a procedure, and my good friend Tanya Freeman, healing from cancer.
Okay, what was that second name again? I'm sorry.
Sure. Tanya Freeman.
Got it.
And my apologies, I just thought about this. I have an aunt that's going through the same thing, so I'll add her name as well. It's Lenora